Welcome back to PSSA. We're here every week to discuss a new political topic. Today we're discussing the war/conflict, I guess we haven't technically declared war yet, over in the Middle East involving Iran, Israel, and a bunch of neighbors as well. We will get into that in a second, and Cavalli will take us through the attendance for today as well, but we are going to start a new segment here where I'm going to give some announcements about the political science department in general, just so everybody can be aware of what's going on for the week or the coming weeks. So today at 6:30 on the Cumming campus, I'm so mad that I can't go, Dr. Miner and Dr. Greathouse will be tackling important conversations, giving a panel on foreign policy during Trump's second term. And if y'all have any questions about these after, totally feel free to come ask, or I can send them to you, no problem. And then on Monday, March 30th, in, I believe it's this room right across from us, there's a pre-law advising workshop. They're actually doing workshops every Monday at noon for the next 4 weeks, I want to say. I went to the first one, it was great, highly recommend. And then on Tuesday, March 31st, the College Democrats will have their weekly meeting at 5:30 here in Young Hall 112. The College Republicans are meeting the same day at 6:30 in Newton Oaks X015, so that bottom floor. Do you want to talk about your protest?
Yeah, so tomorrow the Students for Progressive Society, as well as the Young Democrats and other organizations on campus, are hosting a ICE protest outside of Hogue. It will be from 11 to 4. And you don't have to stay the whole time. And then also the Young Democrats are having two separate candidate forums, one on April 7th and one on April 14th in Young 112 from 5:30 to 6:30.
Beautiful. And then just the last thing, a little internship opportunity. The City of Atlanta's Mayor Office of International and Immigrant Affairs has upcoming openings for their public service internships. They run through the summer, end of May to the end of July. If anyone has any more specific questions, I have some more information, but they include community engagement, international affairs and marketing, international business, and victim services. Applications will be due on Sunday the 29th.
All right, that worked out well. And yeah, hopefully we'll be, does anybody else have any other announcements to make? Hopefully we'll be starting each Crossroads from now on with some announcements for the department, for political science, but also hopefully for politics and things that interest students in general as well. So if you have any announcements, contact us about that. For anybody who is new here, and of course this is open to anybody, whether you intended to be here for this or not, we do take attendance every week. Are we doing the scan for the SGA?
Not this time, but we will have it running.
Okay, I hope so. But in addition to that, whether or not we have that, in addition to that, we also have a good old-fashioned sign-up sheet here that we always do. And the main reason for this, one, is to verify your attendance, but also next to your name, there's a spot for a faculty name. And if you put a faculty name next to your name, we will contact that faculty essentially to verify. We'll show them the attendance sheet to verify that you were here. Hopefully you can get some credit out of that. We can't guarantee the credit, but we can guarantee that we will verify that you did attend. So, what's up with this conflict going on in the Middle East? Who's going to start us off?
Let's talk the history of it. Iran has been in this horrible dictatorship for what, like almost 50 years? First Ayatollah, second Ayatollah, now third Ayatollah. I'm very happy the Ayatollah, the old Ayatollah is gone, because this is the guy who brought so much regime, so much torture and repression towards people of Iran. And remember, Iran is also the headquarters of, not the headquarters, Iran also supplies Hezbollah, Hamas, the IRGC, and other things. It's the biggest instability in the Middle East today.
I'm just gonna go ahead and jump off of that to ask you a question. You see it's a leader for instability. It funds terror organizations throughout the Middle East. Do you see a collapse in the current Iranian regime as it could make things worse, where more funding that would have gone to like an appropriate government or regime is now getting funded into terror organizations such as Hezbollah and Hamas, and also even a terror organization taking foot in Iran, such as the Taliban, if there were to be a collapse of the government? Or do you think that a regime change would put all of that to rest?
Oh, that's tough.
I think a regime change is maybe a little bit easier when you don't have a supreme leader that has access to like insane weapons. So I don't know if, like, the point is always like, yeah, okay, we go in, we do something, then what? Because usually, I mean, like South America would probably be like my favorite example of efforts that we've made and haven't really paid out in the end, or at least they did for us, maybe not so much for them. But I think at least taking the weapons out of the equation makes it a little more possible than before.
Right. I definitely agree, but I see that this is an escalation because, I mean, we use the bunker busters, that we have the technology, we were able to eliminate their nuclear weapons program, and now what are we doing? I just think I see unnecessary escalation. I totally agree with, and this isn't like super woke of me, but I do agree with like striking Iran to an extent, because I see it is as a threat to like U.S. interest in the Middle East, but I think attacking civilians, which we have seen from our ally in Israel and from ourselves, is something that's like completely unnecessary and a tragedy.
Just to build off of what Sedona said a second ago, and I've said this before in a number of contexts with foreign intervention, natural disasters, major policy changes. I think we tend to be very good in the moment, but we are terrible at planning ahead, and we are terrible at following up. Is there evidence of that now, or what do you think?
Well, I do definitely see that. Again, pretty sure most of you have already read, so just quick breakthrough. We have seen a lot of changes in how these strikes were planned out and what the extent of the influence was supposed to be done. It's supposed to be like 4 or 5 weeks tops, right? Change in regime, that's what first I wanted to say, but now we've switched away from it, but now apparently we're going back to it and saying that the regime has already changed, but it really hasn't. But President Trump is advocating that since the people who were in power are dead, then that constitutes a change in regime. So it's like switching around what the goals of this policy, of this intervention is. It's a very much a big thing that we're seeing now. There was not a consistent push like to build a coalition like it was done in the past for advocating for this war. It was very much a strike in the moment. I believe that it was emboldened based on what happened in Venezuela. So I feel like we see people do not know exactly why this war started, right? Was it because of, Hamas? Was it because of the proxies? Was it because of the nuclear power? Because of the violation of human rights? Was it as a melding of all of these things? Goals have been posted, but then again, people do not feel like they completely understand the why. And when we lack the clarity of the goals, we are going to lack the clarity of the intent. If we want to change in regime, if we want to secure what we have said that we want in a leadership, then there is no way we can change regime with just airstrikes. That is not possible. That has never happened.
Mm-hmm. You're right about the whole thing about Venezuela as well, because a lot of people in the administration came out and said that they thought this was going to be a very similar event with the strike that they had against in Venezuela back in January. I think this would be a very quick, fast-moving thing that would only last maybe a few days, maybe to a week at most. But now it's almost been dragging on to nearly a month at this point. It happened on February 28th, which was very funny because it happened on my birthday. So I woke up to thinking it was to see text messages from friends being like, "Oh, happy birthday." First message I see from my friend being like, "Oh man, did you see the news?" And I'm like, "Oh," and I look at it and just see all that. So
It's your fault.
yeah, exactly. Another big thing too is again like how you said as well that this was a very spur of the moment thing because a lot of our NATO allies, one of the big ones that I remember hearing is that in Italy they had no idea what this was happening. They thought they were being wrapped in all this, and all they knew, they woke up just like us. They were going on their day, on the 28th, and then the strikes happened. And a lot of European leaders came out and were like, we had no idea this was even happening. We did not get briefed. We did not even get even a thing that know that this was even going to happen. We did not know this was going to happen right then, showing that this was something that was just like, we're doing this now. And this was a spur of the moment thing. There's a lot of motivations and reasons why I believe the U.S. and Israel is doing this. For, again, like what we said about regime change, I don't know if that's necessarily the whole belief of it. Killing Khamenei was something that I did believe that was trying to push towards a type of regime change. They were hoping to get someone who was going to be a lot more lax, kind of like with Venezuela, of getting someone who's a lot more subordinate to the U.S., but all it's done is get his son, who's way more of a hardliner now. We don't even know if he's alive, but from what I know, that he is way harder. He's way more tyrannical. He's way more oppressive on his population. So all it's done is put someone even worse into power, and he's way younger too. So we have to worry about him for the next 30 years. And the other one is it oil? Is it nuclear weapons? What do we know? I don't know. There's no real true motivation of what this conflict is, and there's no true plan. They came out multiple times, be like, there's not really that much of a strategy. It was just, again, like he said, a spur of the moment action, and there's not much of a conclusion to this. I don't know how long this is going to last.
Yes, a clear lack of communication with NATO allies, and then getting mad at people when they don't want to join a war, which they specifically did not want to start. I remember reading about this diplomat from the UK saying that he believed they were close to a deal when I don't know where these strikes happened. Right now we have someone who we don't even know if they're alive. There's no clear head figure. The IRGC is mostly in control of Iran, and is a push that we see from Israel to end what they call one of these biggest threats to its administration. And to its credit, like, it was tactically sound for Israel to advocate for this push now, because I don't see I don't see sentiment from the regular people advocating for Israel a lot now. I see a lot of people now advocating more for other, let's say, Palestinian groups rather than Israel on common politics. Still, IPAC is a very big proponent, and they have lately invested a lot of money and have helped incumbents and other politicians win a lot of races, which is still very important. It is still very much a topic of contention in both the left and the right. The fact that Israel has such a big, so deep pockets to influence American politics. But it is something that I believe, at least, I don't think you can come to Americans and tell them that there was a threat to us. Like, I very much do not feel that Americans felt like there was an imminent threat to American society. There's not like another 9/11 waiting to happen. That's why this top cabinet official from the Trump administration just left not long ago. He's saying we don't have ballistic intercontinental ICBMs waiting to hit us. I was in Kuwait when Iranian rockets were flying over us, but in 2024. But there's not, like, mainland US was not under threat. So it was not a preemptive attack.
I think imminent is an interesting word, because I also wouldn't say that it's an immediate imminent threat, right? But at the same time, when, especially, it's a theocracy, is it not?
Yeah, it is a
It's
theocracy.
funded on the religion that wants to, like, annihilate Western culture, heritage, all of the above. They want to annihilate it. They want nothing to do with it. They don't think that we can coexist in any fashion. So, like, it's not a question of, like, oh, could we have a two-state solution, a Palestine? No. In the same way that some people would be quick to say, oh, we can only have an Israel, we can't have it goes both ways. But, like, I just think when and it's not also like a Bush case where, like, there are weapons of mass destruction. No. There were weapons of mass destruction. And to allow a theocracy to continue to hold those when they want to annihilate our whole population, and they're chanting death to America all the time, like, I understand it might not be completely immediate, but I still think that, at least in politics, it gives politicians a way to be like, this is a threat, this is dangerous, look what they're saying, look what they're doing. And I don't think that it's completely inaccurate. Do I think it's maybe at times exaggerated? Sure. So is everything else, but I still think it was a threat that needed to be handled. The timing of it, who's doing it, all of those things probably could be improved, yes. But I just feel it had to happen eventually, type of thing. I think we all know it wasn't gonna be Biden. For nothing else than the fact that his pullout went so horribly, why would he ever consider going back towards that area? Yeah.
I guess I'm gonna disagree in the sense of not that obviously like Iran does feel that sort of way about us, but in the sense that I didn't see them as like an immediate threat to the United States. Nobody really wants to mess with us. I think we've like shown that through our force, because obviously we spend more on our military than, I don't know the exact, but it's like the next 5 countries combined. Iran has no business in a war with us, and I think it's just unnecessary escalation. I mean, do we really see it's necessary for us to go and fight every single country that doesn't like us? I mean, there's plenty of countries that don't like us. Why don't we do tactical strikes on North Korea? I mean, I can explain why, but it's like more of a theoretical question of like, why don't we do these things? Or versus like, why do we go out and fight Iran? It feels unnecessary to me, I guess, is the point that I'm trying to make.
I understand completely the fact that you're saying it is a regime that it is theocratic, that it does not have a lot of stability, and in the case that they did acquire nuclear weapons, in case they fall, they would be falling to other terrorist groups, or the proliferation of WMDs would be very much chaotic for the whole region and for the whole world. I understand that. At the same time, if said operation was to be conducted, then I much rather it be conducted by someone who is being complete forward about it, right? I don't want someone pissing on my ear and telling me it's raining. If we are doing it for exactly that reason, then be clear about that message. Go clear for that reason. I am not an advocate for boots on the ground, but if such is the degree at which we are planning for the disarmament of another nation, then steps need to be taken. Right? This is what we're experiencing is a half measure. I'm not. It sounds like I'm advocating for it, but I'm not. But I'm saying if that is truly what we are fighting for, then we're not seeing a complete commitment to what it is pushed. It is a big oversight on what happened to the Strait of Hormuz, what is happening to the global economies, and just like from what I heard from the intelligence community. Again, I'm not inside. I'm seeing the stuff that I read and stuff that I've seen from different sources, is that there has been planning and saying, hey, this can happen. Right now, Iran, for as much as it has been bombed, it is retaining a lot of power. It has more power now than it had before, because now it is almost extorting oil vessels that are passing through the Strait of Hormuz, and they're paying Iran. The price of oil is through the roof, and they are benefited from that too, from the reserves that they are exporting. They are in a better position now than they were before, and we are killing. Yes, they have control right now of Hormuz, and the only way that the United States can take it back.
As far as Hormuz goes, like specifically in economy, I'd say yes, but like overall, we've completely decimated their entire.
If we would have
military.
completely decimated, they wouldn't have the position that they have right now over the Strait of Hormuz. That's like, we have an advantage over them, but we have to commit more to achieve that kind of victory that Trump has been pushing for. So that's what I believe that it's been saying right now, and I believe there has been a lack of an approach that like truly achieves the gains that the president is looking for.
I mean, this is an operation that is not like Desert Storm. Desert Storm was extremely effective, fast. It reminds me more of like the Forever Wars that we've seen. I mean, obviously, like we do not have like troops on the ground, but this is a. I mean, looking at game theory, it's just like it's a constantly escalating conflict, and there doesn't seem to be an end, because both goals of the Iranian regime and of the United States are both unreasonable to ask of each other. And that's kind of like been the issue of a lot of wars that we've like seen that have gone unresolved, obviously. But I think as like the United States, we have to take a step back and try to look at like what's best for the world if we're really going to be like a beacon of freedom and hope. And if we really did care about the civilian lives in Iran, then like we wouldn't be killing them. I think it's just a scapegoat to like use force in the Middle East that is otherwise like would be unjustified. I think as well as that the United States doesn't want to fully commit in the way that it would have to if it were to achieve its goals. That's why you had Trump like talking shit about NATO, like, hey, we need you guys. But then when they backed off, oh, we don't need you. It's just like it's posturing, and like the only way that I feel like I can like truly describe it is immature. It's baby food. Like we're a real country. Like if that makes sense. Like we shouldn't be operating like this. This is it's immature. It's ill-advised. It's ill-prepared, and all we're doing is like putting American soldiers' lives in danger and Iranian civilian lives in danger.
Just to add on to that, I gotta say it's also extremely unpopular domestically. Like, not a ton of people are really in support of us being in the Middle East, especially boots on the ground that is being talked about. I don't know what's gonna happen, but it's being talked about. And I mean, you can see the effects of us, doing what we've done already in America. Like, gas is through the fucking roof. I mean, it was at most like $3.89 last week, and then Georgia passed to eliminate the gas tax, and it went down a little bit, but it's still over $3.50. And for a candidate and a party that ran on the fact that everything was really expensive, including gas prices, it was just a super ill-advised thing to do politically. And I mean, it's going to affect the midterms for sure. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the projected, the Democrats are already projected to take control of at least the House, maybe the Senate. But I wouldn't even be surprised if we see, here in Georgia, if we could take control of the governorship. They could take control of the Georgia House. I wouldn't even be surprised if, some of the seats that are up for re-election that are maybe leaning Republican flip because of this, because of our involvement in the Middle East.
Kind of going with that too. Trump, during his whole 2024 campaign, constantly accused Biden for starting wars or ending wars in catastrophic ways, like the pull-out in Afghanistan, or again the Ukrainian war, or the Israeli-Hamas war, and all that. This was something that he campaigned heavily on, saying that like Biden is a weak leader. He caused a lot of these wars. He's causing the U.S. to be in this predicament and all this. And when I get in office, there's not going to be any more wars. And one of the first things that he does in office is, again, he's only been in office for a little over a year now, and he's taken out the leader of Venezuela, which wasn't a war, but again, shows that he's not afraid to use military force. And then also he is now actively in almost a month-long conflict with Iran, kind of just showing that like, oh, he was never serious about this. And again, going with the whole thing with the midterms as well, that is something that he campaigned heavily on, because a lot of Americans did not want to send troops in. Again, going back to the Middle East, the U.S. has been in the Middle East for decades. Americans don't want to be back in there, and we're going right back in. And again, I just saw last night, I got a news article saying that like another 2,000 soldiers from some airborne division got shipped to the Middle East. So that's additional, like, there's already tens of thousands of Marines already over there. Now there's thousands of more troops getting sent there. It's highly seeming like that some sort of ground operation is more possible now. That thing that they keep saying, oh, it's not going to happen, but they keep changing their words, being like, hey, actually, we're not rolling out boots on the ground. They're going to eventually keep doing it till eventually boots are on the ground in Iran.
Yeah, and you're already seeing the results politically from some of the conflicts that Donald Trump has got us into. I believe last night in his own district in Florida, it flipped Democrat,
Yeah.
where Trump won that district by 24 points.
It was a crazy upset.
And there's like you'll also see there were other special elections in Florida last night, and there were 2 other Democrats who won with like 51% of the vote, and they're barely winning, but they're still winning. They're still flipping these seats. There was somebody in the Georgia Senate or House, I can't remember, but he was in Athens, and it was a seat that he previously lost by 22 points, and there was a special election, and he flipped that seat by 1 point, 1 or 2 points. So you're seeing that these policies, the stuff that Donald Trump is doing in the Middle East and just internationally in general is not popular with voters.
Okay, over here.
Yeah. So I think it's interesting how you bring up the kind of sort of small blue wave that this like conflict has been seen, and I do agree that like it could be really good for the Democrats, but one of the big problems that I foresee is that this attack against Iran was both by the U.S. and Israel, and as far as we're seeing, both parties are still in support of Israel. And so you might see some traction gain, but if the Democratic establishment isn't going to be like, yeah, we condemn the strikes in Iran, but we are also going to give a bunch of money to Israel, who is also bombing Iran, then nothing is going to change. Nothing's going to happen. And so I think we really need to challenge like the Democrats. Like, this is good. It's good to see this, but right now it's purely reactionary. It's purely just, oh, Trump blatantly did something that he said he wasn't going to do. We're going to take advantage of that. But is that going to actually affect us in the midterms? Maybe, maybe not. But we need like to start picking at that.
I would absolutely love to add to that. Yes, the Democratic Party has been enjoying a little bit of a boost right now because of some deeply unpopular actions that President Trump is having. There is still very much a big divide on the people, and you can talk to Democrats. Damn, they're not happy about Democrats. They're not happy that they're happy that Republicans aren't winning, but they're not happy with their party. There's a big divide in which either we need to be moderates or we need to be pushing more to the left. There's a lot of this infighting in the party still. And the future of the Democratic Party is still very much left up to chance, because the only major policies that right now the Democrats are having is being against Trump.
Yeah.
And Mamdani's doing his own thing. Most of the people in New York love him, or at least most of what I've seen is his policies are being extremely popular. So it's very much a thread that is being seen in the Democratic Party right now in what we see in domestic. And of course, again, lessening the influence of other special interest groups in American politics is going to be something really, really hard. You know, a lot of politicians are not going to be like, right, I don't want those billions of dollars for my campaign.
There was that in Illinois, there was a primary, and one of the I forgot what her name was, but she was a grassroots candidate, and she lost to another candidate who was heavily
supported by
yeah.
I saw that too. So it's still something hard and something that we need to address in the type of policy level that it's really, really hard, because still a lot of politicians receive a lot of influence from Israel and from other states, right? But I feel, at least personally, and I have seen a lot of people are saying, wait a minute, why are we having Israel and all these other interest groups having their voice matter more than whatever Americans are doing? And it's at least something that we've been feeling a lot. And it's something that I've seen both from the left and from the right. You're American, why does the voice and the money from Israeli or from people from other countries worth more in elections than your American voice and your American money? Why does your voice and your vote worth only more as the cash that you're able to render to the people that you're willing to support? And it's something that needs to be advocated and moved toward. And that's another topic, but it's absolutely really important that we need to take into account when we talk about foreign policy, because these are policies that are taken, of course, taking into account that we're helping the allies that help fund those campaigns.
you're getting into campaign finance now, which is something that we have tried to tackle for 50 years now and haven't been able to successfully do. So maybe someday, but who knows?
I think that's something that you correctly pointed out was the Israeli influence. I just don't know what other country has such unrivaled influence on the United States. I mean, we don't let England or any of the NATO countries have that sort of influence. Japan, out in Asia, and I think it's rather interesting that the for a while the American public had just kind of turned a blind eye to it. I think recently we've definitely seen how unpopular AIPAC has become, how unpopular Israel has become. And I think that's part of the reason why this war in Iran was so unpopular, is because they saw it as the United States being an Israeli puppet, at least in a sense. For me, it's really confusing. I think if we look at it from like the U.S. is doing Israelis' bidding angle, the war kind of makes sense. But other than that, like domestically, it doesn't. It's very confusing to me because I'm trying to not justify it for my own sake, but justify it in their lens. Like, okay, why would it make sense to go to war with Iran? And it's not popular domestically, it's not popular internationally, and so it's very confusing to me. And I just think it's just a gross misstep. And I think pointing out the Israeli influences is something that will almost haunt the narrative of like the current United States involvement in the Middle East.
Okay, so Donna?
Hearing all this, I just can't help but think, like, I feel like these are just common themes that have been between U.S. Middle East relations for so long. That doesn't make it right necessarily. It's just to say, and I don't think anybody is, to say that it's like a certain party or specific person, I think like oversimplifies it too much. For example, like, I think when it comes to no president is campaigning on starting war ever in the history of ever. They are campaigning on not starting wars until wars start, at least in the U.S. for the most part, I would say. Outside might be different. And then as far as the way that wars actually kind of unfold in the Middle East, especially the example of, let's say, the school that was hit by us there. We could give many more examples. That's just one that's been very prominent, and I'm sure we all heard about. It's super common for these Middle Eastern countries to use civilians as literal shields. Could we do better about not hitting these civilians that we're allegedly protecting and trying to get them freedom and a regime change? Sure. But to say that we're like intentionally going after civilians, I think would be taking it rather far, unless they're like terrorists. What else? Yeah, I just think there's like, we've had this relationship with Israel since pretty much their founding, and it's understandable when, again, we think about the religious influence that is in all the surrounding countries. It would be like either we're leaving them high and dry, or they're kind of leaving us high and dry. Like, it's a mutual benefit. It makes total sense. It's gone on for this long. It doesn't make it completely right, but why wouldn't we want to have something there? As far as going after Israel's wants and what they would probably call needs, yeah, I think we are seeing a significant shift in public opinion in the most fascinating way on the both left and right sides. Like, you know, I guess the right, they're all like Candace Owens, Egyptian plane, Israel, Charlie type stuff. And then on the left, I think it's kind of always been more consistently, we don't want this involvement with Israel, but it's just ramped up a lot recently. I think it's been interesting to see both parties kind of shift their minds, but for completely different reasons. I think it's, weirdly enough, some of the most common ground we have probably had as parties in, I would say, since the election in 2024, honestly. Maybe that's a little far. It'll play out more and we'll see. But yeah, I don't know who was next.
He had his hand up first.
I want to say, like, I want to do an exercise in like trying to go like very hawkish and trying to understand. Okay, let's be honest. Most of Americans are not going to think about school being hit, right? Whenever we're buying groceries and whenever we're pumping our gas, we're not going to say, "Oh my God," you know, those poor kids. We're looking at the number. Americans in most part, and it's going to sound very cynical and very bad, and it's not my personal opinion, but only caring so much as it affects their immediate purchasing power.
That's
you
very
know?
true.
You cannot afford to care for people who you've never met and you'll never know if you cannot feed your kids, if you cannot put oil in your gas, and you cannot put gas in your car. So that is where it starts. We're going to take the stance that it's coming from a place of like, this is something that needed to be done right now, because either today or tomorrow or 3 administrations from now on, Iran is going to have the capabilities to do serious damage to us, or just because it has consistently supported economically and militarily other groups that have attacked us and been a nuisance to our control of the zone. So what I would say is there needs to be a decisive, coordinated strike with other people to neutralize that threat, right? Air superiority is not going to do it. Right? There needs to be an understanding of what are the methods by which Iran is going to defend itself. Again, the type of damage that's going to do, the timing of the war, because it's also very important knowing, again, very unpopular war right now. It is going to absolutely, I wouldn't say decimate, but it's going to prove a very, very big hindrance for a lot of people who are running as incumbents in Republican zones that are seeing a lot of their constituents, whether they advocated for no war or, I want to go back to the Trump economy, already been diminished in the Latino population because of the ICE raids. And, now we're going to see a lot of pushback from other people. So the timing of the war is going to be very important and very impactful. These are considerations that I did not see fully grasped in Trump's approach. Again, I'm let's say I'm hawkish. Let's say I'm full pro. Let's go. Let's finish it. We have to advocate for our interest in the Middle East. There are some gaps in what I believe is being done. Right. These are things that need to be done right now, and we as Americans need to have control of that area, because we are just the global hegemon right now, and we have to control that area, because it's of important to us that crude is down and our president gets favorable re-elections. I don't see that the timing was right for the Republican Party unless they somehow work into working the legislation and redistrict a lot of the places that allows them to actually retain both the House and the Senate, which it looks kind of hard right now. But I don't see a cohesive approach to actually end this war fast in a way that would secure Iran never having weapons of mass destruction. It's not there. It's not right now. You cannot say that, yes, well, it has been set back, that they will never have nuclear weapons, that they are just unable to fund paramilitary groups that will be able to deal damage to us, that we don't have sleeper cells here. We don't have that damage right now. We don't have that capabilities right now. So even if we have a very hawkish approach, I still do not see that the goals have been met, or I do not see anything that's meaningful enough that is going to show me that those goals are going to be met anytime soon.
I definitely agree. I see it as a miscalculation. I think Sedona brought up a great point earlier, that of course, because it was a Trump operation, we're like beating on Trump, because it is his administration that's doing this. But
Can we say that Epic Fury is a pretty good name for an
No.
operation?
No, it's so.
It's not.
It's kind of lame.
No,
It's so
an
Reddit
intern
built.
went on ChatGPT and was like, "Hey, give me some names for some military operations,"
Yeah.
and it was like the third option.
I prefer Midnight Hammer. I preferred Midnight Hammer. It
Midnight-
just sounds too
like Desert
pretentious.
Storm was cool.
Epic
Fury
Fury just sounds so
It
Reddit.
sounds like you're
5-year-old.
trying to be cool and you're
Yes.
like also like almost 80. Like,
Yes.
It's like a spicy dish in a millennial restaurant.
Yeah, that's another good one. Yeah.
To me, it gave like Fortnite, but in a funny way.
Yeah, okay, it's funny.
It's
Don't
funny.
get me
But
wrong,
It shouldn't
it's
be
funny.
funny though.
You're good, yeah.
but it's not a good name.
I'm saying, like,
It's a funny name.
I needed a poll there. Sorry, guys.
She needed
God, I forgot what I was gonna say. But like, who's to say that Biden wouldn't do this? Like you said, Biden wouldn't do it because
It'd be
of.
less likely, but it's
He'd
not
be less
impossible.
likely, but also he's still, in the Israeli pockets. I think it's important to like understand that like U.S. foreign policy has been very like uniparty. That we've kind of like we'll attack Trump for like doing things in the Middle East, but
Obama did the same thing also.
Obama.
Obama.
I think it's important to remember that like a lot of it's been an issue from both parties, and that this has been an approach that us as the United States has taken, rather than this is a Republican Party issue or a Democratic Party issue. I mean, like Trump will blame Biden for the pullout in Afghanistan, which was bad. But that was also still a plan made by Trump. It was something that is across administrations. Our involvement in the Middle East is something that stretches across many administrations because it's just unlimited involvement. And I think it's something that we need to point out and not make necessarily a partisan issue, in the same way that we've like kind of unified against like Israeli overreach into United States politics. I think it's something that we need to understand that, like, hey, this is not what we want to stand for and represent as Americans, not as Republicans or Democrats.
Well, I think you brought up a good point there, especially with like the overreach that Israel has, and I think that a lot of people are like waking up to it, or like I feel like I don't know what will happen with the parties, because as you said, like, I mean, even past presidents that were even Democrats, like it feels like to like the regular US population that literally just every single politician, like on both sides, they're just like in the pockets with the Israel government, and it just, I don't know where it'll like take us in the next election, because I don't even know if Americans trust Democrat like leadership anymore either. So like, is this like a turning point for like, I don't want to get off topic or anything, but is this like a turning point for like, I don't know, like anarchy, or like something that like a lot of, I mean, nobody really, we don't feel like we're even being given like what we're promised. Like, I mean, the Epstein files, like now this, like what, yeah.
You're starting to already see a big push in a lot of new campaigns, especially younger people who are running for office now, who are actively saying that, like, yeah, I'm not gonna support Israel. I'm against what they're doing, or other things with like, I'm about the Epstein files and all. There's now a large amount of people who are, again, like maybe a little bit older than us, like millennials and older Gen Z, who are starting to run for office now. Who's like, yeah, we see the problems, we hear you, and we're gonna try changes, because a lot of the reasons why a lot of things haven't changed because we've had the same leaders since like the 80s, and they keep the same ideology again since the 80s, and they don't change at all. Like, again, we've had some people who've been running since, again, like who's the oldest members of Senate right now? Who's, I don't even want to know. It's probably even
Chuck Grassley?
Chuck Grassley is
How long
90
is he-
something?
how long?
90 something?
Proving the point that
I hope so.
well, just proving the point that there has been people who's
Let's run
been.
that guy.
What does it say? Oh my
Eleanor
God!
Holmes Norton is 88, and then
Yeah,
succeeding
she's
it
been around
goes
for a while.
87, 86, 85, 85.
Okay,
Nancy
so
Pelosi's in-
proving the point that, again, some people have been running in Senate since well before we're even born. There's people who have been in office who are been around since, honestly, like since World War II. And that is an insane thing to think about, that the reason why nothing has changed with our policies is because, again, we've had the same people in office with the same exact policies for so long. But now we are starting to see that these people are getting to the age now where they have to start retiring. Hell, we've had a few of them that actually just died in office, where they need to have special elections. And new young people are coming in to take their place, and we're starting to see the establishment change where, yeah, you can elect someone who is a traditional Democrat who's like in the 40s or 50s or even 60s. They're like, oh, I want to stay with what the party's doing, and you can do that. But also, you're starting to see a very strong young base in their 20s, 30s, and maybe early 40s who are like, I'm actively going against what the establishment is. And these people are, maybe not winning every election, but they're being at least competitive now. And this is something that we've not seen in a long time. And this is a very exciting thing. So to answer your question, I do think we're going to see change eventually. Probably the next decade, I think it's going to be a big shift.
I hope so. I think this strangely enough, I think this gets us back to the idea of campaign finance that I was bringing up before. But the reason is that age, the reason there are a lot of old people in Congress is, yes, in part because they keep running. And age is actually less of a factor, I think, now. There are more healthier, older people. But the way the system is structured favors incumbents now.
Yeah.
And so they can more easily run and win over and over and over and over again. It's harder for new people to break in.
That is
and
true.
maybe there'll be a change, like you say. I mean, you can only run for so long.
Yeah.
There haven't been too many centenarian members of Congress, although there have been. Strom Thurmond served until he was 100 or 102 or something like that. I used to. I mean, back in the 90s, I used to talk about Strom Thurmond, who was still a senator from South Carolina then, and I used to make mention of the fact that he ran for president. Okay, he ran for president, not just governor, not starting out his career. He ran for president in 1948, and he was still serving in the 2000s.
That's not good, man.
And yeah, we're kind of getting that way with a lot of people, and hopefully there will be some turnover, but in part it's the system that is supporting them as well. It's not just that older people aren't giving up and they're not giving in, it's that the system is supporting them too.
Yeah, just to add to that with the campaign fund, you had mentioned like if we do change this funding from Israel, really what would change? Like if we change our campaign finance system to make sure that money can't come in from Israel, do we think that that's going to stop Israel from getting money to the places that it wants to get money? No, of course not. And then, yeah, same with campaign finance. I mean, I don't know. I could like talk about it all day, but still find no solution. You know what I mean? And that's just the boat that we've been in
I've said
for
it in
so
class
long.
before, trying to reform these things. A lot of people have said, not me, but I'm not the one who invented the phrase, but a lot of people have said it's like trying to nail Jello to the wall.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
I feel like, to your point, is like even if we, let's say, remove Israel from the equation, I mean, we still are gonna have people who feel like the money is not being allocated to what they want. But we're still, I don't know if you guys have seen the memes. There's like, oh no, major disaster in the U.S. Well, $10 billion to Israel right now, regardless of the administration. It's like, help! Americans are dying in the streets because of the fentanyl crisis. That's horrible. $10 billion to Israel right now. And it's just like, we still see it, right? We're not hopefully praying that if we do see an exit of the Israeli, caucus and the influence in United States politics, we're not going to see money towards them. But we still have the issue of billionaires being able to gather in these places and gather in these ways that they can dump billions of dollars. They account for a fifth. Billionaires account for a fifth of all donations to American politicians. And it's still like we're not going to see the implementation of money allocated to where we want it if people are going to be able to outspend us, right? I don't have the capability of dumping thousands of dollars into a campaign for someone. Damn, I would love to have thousands of dollars. And my first thing wouldn't be invested in politics. But that's what I'm saying. We do not have that capability. And even if that still wasn't, just because of how we are as humans, we would be discontent with whatever money is being allocated towards what. That is just the net issue of what it is. That's going to be the bottom line. Again, if we remove Israel from the equation, that at least means that there's going to be more money, hopefully, to be floating around, hopefully to be invested in what some people consider to be important. Yeah. And to the point that something that you were saying a while back ago, again, the U.S. is, at least from what I have seen, in this cyclical stage of being born too late to be on the sandbox, born too early to be on the sandbox, born just in time to be on the sandbox. Yeah. Just because we keep going there, accruing bad rep with the people there, then leave, then we want to act surprised like, what? The people that we funded and killed are bombing us and killing us? That's horrible. Yeah. And then we just go back and rinse and repeat, regardless of administration, regardless of the people in control. The idea is hopefully that we're going to have leaders that recognize like, hey, maybe the stuff that we've been consistently pumping to this, area and perhaps, creating areas in which, rampant militarism and ideological extremism and pumping it with, guns and destruction is not going to be beneficial to us, because who are they going to direct all their anger towards? Us.
Yeah.
And damn, they do kind of have a point. If I was, let's say, if Mexico was doing that to us, if they have consistently invaded us and destroyed and killed our people and treated us how we have treated the Middle East, well, goddamn, we would have seen more rebellion from the United States. And it is just not true to expect that we're going to have no retribution from the Middle East after how we've consistently treated them. And we have, to this day, American senators who say that Islam or Muslim people do not have a space here.
Yeah.
And how can we face the international community after saying those things?
Yeah.
Okay, why don't you two guys close it out, and then we'll have Stana wrap it up.
I was going to say that's 100% right, though, because one of the big things that you can use as an example is that after the 2003 invasion of Iraq, after we went in there, pretty much capitulated the whole country, we disbanded the Iraqi army, and millions, well, at least hundreds of thousands of young men were out of a job. They were out of the military now. They have long-standing resentment against the U.S. and the West. There's weapons floating around everywhere. They're in a horrible economic and political situation. A large amount of them turned radical, and guess what they formed? ISIS. And guess what just happened a decade later? We got right back to the Middle East to fight against ISIS, to do the same exact stuff again by something that we directly caused because we invaded the country and ruined their country. Now they got angry at us, and we're like, what? What do you? That's like how you say, like, what do you mean these people are angry at us? And we have to go back in there again. It's a constant cycle. New generations keep getting radicalized by the things that we did before, and they keep wanting revenge, and then we're confused by that. And it's exactly
as
what
I
you
mentioned
said.
before, we're very good in the moment, but we're terrible at planning ahead, and
Exactly.
we're terrible at following up.
I think it's really interesting that we were so concerned with like government funding and like, hey, like we got to make sure that, you know, Doge, we got to cut U.S. foreign aid to countries, but then we're going to go and spend billions of dollars on this war.
200 billion.
200 billion right now? Yeah, I mean, it goes up by the day because those bombs are not cheap.
No, they're expensive as hell.
And so I think it's very hypocritical, and it's only a matter of time before, you know, the rest of the American populace who aren't upset right now will become upset.
Yeah.
By the way, just as a matter of context, put that 200 billion in context. When the Clinton administration left office in 2001, the entire defense budget was $270 billion. And now we're asking 200 just as an extra for one operation.
Oh my goodness.
All right, why don't we close this out on that happy note?
All right, thank you guys for coming out. We'll be here again same time next week. On your way to class, if y'all wouldn't mind going and checking the UNG PSSA Instagram story, we're just asking you guys what your biggest issues are coming into the midterm election for our voters guides. There's some multiple choice, you can type in your own answer. So just go take those. You guys have a game night that we're trying to plan, so if you can come on the day that we have planned, let us know. If not, we'll try and find a different day. That's all. I hope y'all have a great day.
I thought you had to leave, sir.
Oh, well, I was.
I got too into it.
AI, AI.